Hi everyone, welcome back. I am here to be reacting to the Kingdom Hearts Dark Road explanation, and I really hope I have the correct video. A lot of you had suggested that I also check this out after Union Cross, and I went through Union Cross with you all with Damo's video, and I believe this is the one you guys want me to check out, but please let me know in the comments if there was a specific link or different one, but yeah, this is very exciting to check out. A lot of you had let me know that this is predominantly about Xehanort and how he came to be the Xehanort we knew. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to learning more about him, and I think once again Damo for making these incredible videos. I've linked in the description this video and therefore his channel, so be sure to check out this video if you haven't already and subscribe. And yeah, alrighty, let's get into it.
Kingdom Hearts Dark Road tells the story of how Xehanort, the central antagonist to the entire Kingdom Hearts series so far, started down the path that led him from being an innocent, curious boy living on his quiet, isolated home of Destiny Islands to the gnarled old master, willing to sacrifice anything and anyone to achieve his goal. This is the complete story of Kingdom Hearts Dark Road chronologically explained. So far, episodes 1 to 3. In the aftermath of the clash between Master Eraqus' pupils and the aging Master Xehanort, all that remained was an amnesiac man who awoke in Radiant Garden, remembering nothing but that his name was Xehanort. He would be brought in to join Ansem the Wise as one of his apprentices, and though we will get into this time period properly in a separate video, his time as an apprentice comes to an end when he performs his final experiment, removing the hearts from the bodies of both himself and his fellow apprentices, splitting them into heartless and nobodies. The nobodies would go on to form the founding members of Organization 13, and the heart would take on the name of Xehanort's former master, Ansem. As a heart unburdened by a body, the heart of Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, is now able to travel backwards through time to a point in which a version of himself already exists and returns to a time at which he was a young lad, exactly where he needed to be to complete the time loop and set all of the following events into motion. As a child, Xehanort would often dream of people he had never met before, children that were involved in some grand adventure, visiting worlds and encountering creatures that seemed completely foreign to anything he had ever seen on his tiny island. He yearned to travel outside his island prison, so that he might one day meet these friends that he saw in his dreams. And one day, as he awoke from yet another dream, he looked out at the ocean that kept his tiny world separated from the many other worlds that might be out there, and was approached by a being shrouded in a brown robe. Xehanort didn't realize it at the time, but he was being approached by a version of himself from the far future, and the heart of his future self offered Xehanort the opportunity to see the worlds that he dreamt of, noting that there was nothing for him on the Destiny Islands, but to await a quiet and uneventful death. The cloaked figure opened a dark corridor, and with barely a moment's hesitation, the young Xehanort takes that first step through, leaving his home behind, and finding himself on a literal dark path. Dark clouds whispered to Xehanort as he walked, conveying emotions of hatred, jealousy, and doubt towards him, feelings that he had never felt before, but were somehow directed at him from people that he had yet to meet. But the fear and trepidation he was feeling almost comforted him. It reminded him that his heart still knew how to feel. But he didn't realize that he was walking down a path that led to something scarier than darkness itself. Emptiness. Xehanort made his way through the dark corridor, losing consciousness as he arrived in this new land, the world of Scala at Caelum. Xehanort was found by the water, and when he regained consciousness, he was taken in and given the opportunity to attend classes with other children his age, children that were studying to become Keyblade wielders. Among his classmates were Ermod, Bragai, Erd, Vor, Boulder, and his closest friend, Eraqus. Eraqus was fascinated by Xehanort and frequently tried to get him to open up about his experience in the world that he had come from, though Xehanort rarely offered the curious Eraqus any information. Eraqus knew that he had to have come from another world, given that the islands that surrounded their home were allegedly all deserted, a fact that has currently not been elaborated on. The two boys often entertained themselves by playing chess, forming something of a friendly rivalry,
Yeah.
similar to a rivalry shared by two other boys from Destiny Islands. They would study under their master Odin, a tall,
Odin.
bearded man donned in a large cloak and a wide-brimmed hat that obscured a majority of his face. Practically the only feature that can be seen of him was a single, piercing eye. Here, the students would learn about the nature of things as they trained to become masters, such as the light-filled worlds that comprised their known universe, and the darkness that threatened them. They would also learn about their history as a people, hearing the Master's favourite story about the ancient Keyblade War, in which Keyblade-bearing warriors came together to clash for the light within Kingdom Hearts, splitting asunder the realm of light in the process. Though I do wonder how reliable of a narrator Master Odin actually is, given that it seems his retelling of the events may not have included any mention of the foretellers.
Interesting.
Anyway, these 7 students comprise the lower class, but there were also 7 students in the upper class, including Balder's sister. Around a week before the time of Dark Road's proper beginning, these 7 upper students were due to undertake their Mark of Mastery exam. Rather than sit a conventional test, they were tasked with exploring the worlds outside of Scala at Caelum. Balder confided in Eraqus that he was concerned about the safety of his sister, fearing that something about Master Odin's exam was amiss. The way his sister had described it, only those that made it back would be named masters, making it sound like not all of the students would be returning safely home. Balder had a terrible feeling that his sister would be lost to darkness, and at the mere mention of the word darkness, Eraqus perked up. Balder apologized for bringing up a painful subject, and began to recall that Eraqus' grandfather had previously battled the darkness, which is how he... But Eraqus cuts Balder off before he can finish his thought, saying that he doesn't exactly know what happened to his grandfather, but that just the thought that darkness could be lurking nearby makes him anxious, and that hating darkness may be in his blood. This is interesting because, well, of course, Eraqus has been described as a blue blood, descended from a long lineage of Keyblade wielders, and it is a current fan theory that perhaps Brain is his ancient ancestor. But Dark Road is asserting that Eraqus' grandfather battled the darkness, with his fate currently unrevealed. Perhaps he either perished or disappeared as a result. This makes the timeline a little strange. Are they saying that Brain is his direct grandfather? And that only 2 generations have come since the founding of Scala at Caelum?
Interesting, so
I'll
Brain...
confess to having a headcanon here. But I always imagined that Brain and the Dandelions would return to the original Daybreak town that suffered after the Keyblade War, and build Scala at Caelum practically on top of it. Brain certainly fits the description of someone who battled the darkness after everything he witnessed in Union Cross so far, and what will surely follow in the next few updates. Or are they saying that Scala came under the threat of darkness 2 generations ago, and it was up to people like Eraqus' grandfather to defend their world? That actually might be the reason why the surrounding islands of Scala are deserted. It does seem extremely bizarre to me that 90% of this world is deserted, but I'm sure we'll hear more about this plot point in the future. But, speaking of darkness lurking nearby, and all the Keyblade wielders, it's worth mentioning now that Lushu is likely nearby, surely having discarded his original body long ago by this point, and fulfilling his role in keeping an eye on the Master of Masters Keyblade from a distance, which we can see currently hangs in the student's classroom. The same Keyblade, which of course, the Master of Master can use to see through at any time, watching over any and all prospective Keyblade wielders that he might see potential in. And if he saw one that became fascinated with darkness, for example, perhaps he might be so inclined to help guide that student down a dark path. Sorry, we took a little detour there. I try to keep this video speculation free, my apologies. With the speculating done, let's head back to the proper beginning of Dark Road. A week later, Master Odin summoned the students to their classroom to inform them of the news that the upperclassmen had indeed gone missing during their Mark of Mastery exam, and that Xehanort, Eraqus, Omod, Bragai, Vor, and Erd were to split up into 2 teams and go searching for them. Balder was not to know about this, with Odin's reasoning being that learning about his sister going missing would only cause Balder to worry. He seems a little nervous. Eraqus and Bragai can hardly contain their excitement, whereas Omod and Erd ask for some decorum, reminding the others of the reason for the excursion. Odin teaches them the method to leave their world, and sends them on their way.
Interesting.
The students ask Xehanort for any advice about the outside worlds, given that he is the only one to have ever been outside Scala.
None of the others
Xehanort reminds them of all the things they have learnt in class. That all the worlds that were scattered after the Realm of Light split apart in the Keyblade War are at different stages of growth and recovery after the calamity. For some, time has resumed complete normalcy, but for others, time literally flows differently relative to other worlds.
Kind of like the Destiny Islands.
Some worlds are still in their infancy, and have yet to develop their own order, and with that in mind, it is possible that someone or something, could potentially affect the growth and destiny of a developing world before it has even properly begun. Splitting into 2 teams of 3, the wielders don their Keyblade armor, allowing them to travel safely between the worlds without feeling the corruptive influence of darkness.
That's so
Xehanort
cool.
and Eraqus sport the armor previously seen by their later incarnations in Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep Final Mix, bizarrely including the Nobody Sigil even now, whereas the other 4 students' armor bears a resemblance to the Union armor from Union Cross, with Vor, Bragai, Erd, and Ermod resembling Volpes, Unicornus, Anguis, and I suppose Ursus, respectively. I wonder if Baldur will be donned in a yellow attire matching Leopardus, should his armor ever be revealed. With their armor equipped to shield them from the darkness, the students leap into the air and morph their Keyblades into vehicles, setting off to search the outside worlds.
Cool.
They discover that Agrabah is still in the process of reforming, and as such, there are currently no living beings in the world,
Oh, wow.
save for Heartless. Emblem Heartless, in fact. The wielders remark on how bizarre that is, as during their lessons, they had learned that the original Keyblade wielders of Daybreak Town battled against Emblem Heartless, but these were just projections from the Book of Prophecies, using the appearance of Heartless that wouldn't actually exist until the future, ironically created by Xehanort himself. They rationalize that if the upperclassmen were to encounter Heartless unexpectedly as well, some may choose to run, and some may choose to stand and fight. But with no
Okay.
real trace of the missing wielders, they return to Scala, deciding not to tell Master Odin of their findings, and continue on to the next world,
Okay.
Wonderland.
Ah,
Here, Xehanort
nice.
notices that the denizens of the world live in fear of the Queen of Hearts. They soon realize that she may have darkness in her heart, and bizarrely, both Xehanort and Eraqus seem to experience a flashback simultaneously of memories from the time of Union Cross, where Brain
Ooh.
mentioned to Ephema, Skald, and Ven, who was unknowingly harboring a being of darkness within himself,
Yeah.
that darkness can hide anywhere,
Yeah.
even inside someone. We'll get into this flashback later, but as a person
Right.
that clearly has darkness in her heart, darkness that visibly manifests around her as she speaks, she wields that power she gains from the darkness to rule with an iron fist. But the students are hesitant to intervene. After all, if that is how this world works, who are they to say otherwise? Still, Xehanort and Eraqus say they believe in the light in people's hearts, while recognizing that eventually they may be forced to confront the darkness within those hearts as they continue their search. Xehanort wonders, is it possible that the darkness could bury so deep within someone that they themselves would have no idea of its
Like
presence?
himself,
And
maybe?
if so, would it be right to turn a Keyblade on that person, a dark shell of their former self? Xehanort, Eraqus, and their companion return to the Queen of Hearts to question her directly. Does she
Interesting.
intentionally rule with fear, or is it the darkness deep within her that forces her to do these things? But this only enrages the Queen, and that darkness within her becomes visible to the wielders again. In the brief moment that it shows itself, Xehanort thinks that he sees it smiling. Perhaps similar
Ooh,
to
it's
the arrogant way in which darkness showed itself to Brain in the latest update of Union Cross. And a manifestation of the Queen's wrath appears before the young wielders. It's interesting that it is the Queen's wrath represented here, given that wrath is of course one of the 7 deadly sins, the same one that Era is named for in fact. Perhaps over the course of the next Disney Worlds, the students will confront the remaining 6 deadly sins.
Mm.
Anyway, after defeating it, they return back to Scala at Caelum, and discuss the next phase of their plan as a group. Surely some form of darkness is responsible for the missing upperclassmen, but Xehanort wonders if they aren't in some way responsible for its presence as well. After all, one
Them?
bright light can cast many shadows. And in fact, without light
Oh,
itself, there would be no concept of darkness.
yeah.
Erd isn't as on board with the
Interesting.
idea, saying that because darkness exists is the reason they became Keyblade wielders in the first place. There's a big difference between light leading to darkness and darkness leading to light in her eyes. Odin had taught them that when the negativity within someone's heart grows to the point where it can no longer be contained,
Yeah.
that is when darkness is born in their hearts. The
Okay.
group still isn't sure if the Queen's darkness was her own, or if it was an outside force that she welcomed into her heart. But Xehanort questions whether it
Right.
even matters.
Yeah.
Wonderland kept order because a queen with darkness in her heart ruled with fear. The Keyblade
Yeah,
Wielders'
does the
perspective of light
darkness's
being good and
origin
darkness
matter?
being bad simply wasn't relevant. But Eraqus takes complete umbrage with that statement, insisting to Xehanort that darkness is bad and always has been, something that he should know, especially well as a Keyblade wielder, a guardian
Ooh.
of light. Xehanort hasn't forgotten, but what he is worried about is that if the upperclassmen found themselves in a world in which the order it followed was that of darkness, then it's possible that they may have been defeated. Eraqus refuses to entertain the thought, but Ermod calms everyone down and says that they'll all continue to complete their role in searching for the upperclassmen, and seeing as that may
Okay.
well be connected to the darkness, they'll investigate that as well, remaining cautiously optimistic as they take off to the next world. 4 years later. Rain falls heavily upon Xehanort's head as he lays down flowers on 4 graves.
Ooh.
His final task, before leaving Scala at Caelum one last time to see the worlds, before it is his turn to undertake the Mark of Mastery exam. Though the obvious implication is that Vor, Ermod, Erd, and Bragai have perished, we cannot say with certainty who these graves belong to just yet. Because right now, there are at least 13 possible candidates.
Okay.
The 5 fellow students in Xehanort's class, of course, the 7 upperclassmen, and Master Odin himself. Eraqus arrives and tells Xehanort that what happened wasn't his fault and tries to coax him into staying, saying that Xehanort has already seen what's out there. To which Xehanort retorts that he hasn't seen everything. Eraqus tries to prod further, asking Xehanort just what it is that he's actually looking for, but is completely ignored by his sullen friend. But by reminding Xehanort of their ongoing friendly rivalry of chess, Eraqus manages to get Xehanort to pause and turn to face him. With some hope and light still in his eyes, Xehanort asks Eraqus if he really means that. And to me, I read this as Xehanort asking Eraqus if he truly believes that what happened to these 4 people isn't his fault. Does Eraqus truly not blame him for what happened? Can he still call himself Eraqus' friend?
So was some kind of darkness what led to their deaths?
With that life back in his eyes, Eraqus gives Xehanort his blessing to leave, and the 2 friends seem to part on good terms, as Xehanort departs to once more explore the worlds outside and get his answers.
So what was Eraqus doing? Just staying within...
So clearly something tragic happens to at least 4 people between where we are now and the time skip, the time at which Xehanort prepares to undertake his own Mark of Mastery exam. Something tragic that Xehanort personally carries a lot of guilt over. Was he unable to stand up to the forces of darkness? Did he choose to stay and fight when it would have been safer to run? Was he tempted by darkness and hurt his friends in a vain attempt to wield it? Until the story advances further, we simply won't know. But whatever happened obviously had a devastating effect on Xehanort's development as a young person and his worldview. His fragile young mind, so vulnerable from the disaster he likely just witnessed, and may have been even partially responsible for, is now ripe to be molded by an external force. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if that external force had a hand in the disaster in the first place. Around this time, it is implied that Xehanort came in contact with a strange man known as the Master of Masters, who gave him a black coat to ward off darkness. That man may have told him about a great many things during their initial conversation, and I believe that at some point, Dark Road will cover that first encounter. As this actually hasn't happened in Dark Road yet, and would be purely speculation to discuss, it is best left until my next video, further exploring Xehanort's motivations. But the fated encounter was clearly something that the Master of Masters needed to happen in order to enact his grand plan. The last thing we have chronologically seen in Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, so far, is Xehanort returning to Wonderland and allowing himself to be captured so that he can be brought in front of the Queen of Hearts and her darkness once more. He is pleased to see the darkness, clearly confirming whatever suspicions he was holding about its nature and ability to hide inside people. Did the students perhaps believe they had eradicated the darkness, only for Xehanort to suspect that it still resided in people's hearts? Again, these are the questions that will be addressed as the story progresses. I imagine we will see him revisit many, many more Disney worlds as part of his world tour, and again it is implied that he will encounter a lot more darkness.
So yeah, he knows how much strength darkness has over people's hearts
to the Master of Masters' side,
from this experience.
As evidenced by the cutscene we have seen during Kingdom Hearts 3's Reminds DLC, where the Master of Masters asks him how the world tour went. Here, the Master of Masters will cement Xehanort's beliefs, stoking the dark fires that burn within him, and making the decision to walk down the dark path irreversible. This is of course not part of Dark Road, and though it again may be covered in the Dark Road art style at some point, given how pertinent the conversation is, I feel like it is worth including here. As said, the Master of Masters asks how this world tour went, and Xehanort responds by saying that it taught him the very reason for his existence. The people that live in these worlds appear to enjoy peaceful lives, full of kindness and virtues, but it's all a total sham. There is darkness in the pit of every heart. The light is a farce. Xehanort relays the things that he saw. Those that are weak attempt to seize power from those that already have it, corrupting themselves with darkness. This begets others, now weaker than them, to attempt to steal their power, and the cycle continues endlessly, forever deepening the darkness. And all the while, the people are convincing themselves that they are doing what is right.
What is moral.
Xehanort cannot abide what he has seen. They are all weak in his eyes. None of these fools hold any real power. they will just squabble endlessly and chaotically over any scraps of power they can get their hands on.
Yeah.
And in their escalating cycle of backstabbing and power grabbing, they will inevitably cause casualties, eventually taking their world down with them. There needs to be order, or else all worlds will fall to this chaotic cycle of destruction,
And so
just
he
as they
feels
did
it is
in
up
the
to
Keyblade
him
War. And in
to do
Xehanort's
so.
eyes, ruling with darkness is the only path. For their own good, the people need to be ruled by darkness. The Master of Masters prods him towards affirming his worldview,
Yeah.
that one day Xehanort will be wielding the darkness, and he won't need to worry about some silly odd coats to protect him. Xehanort can feel this destined path within himself. After all, his future is already etched upon his heart. He
Yeah,
doesn't
it's already
realize it
sealed.
yet, but his every action is preordained, given that, in order to have ever left Destiny Islands in the first place, his future self
Yeah.
had to travel back
So
in
he
time
had to have
and set
succeeded
himself
to
on the
ever
path.
begin.
Therefore, he has no choice but to eventually become Ansem the Seeker of Darkness himself and travel back in time in order to complete the time loop.
Yeah.
Xehanort asks the Master of Masters for his name, and though he is given a very cryptic and possibly revealing answer, Xehanort brushes it off to ask again. The Master begrudgingly answers, and though we do not get to hear what was said, Xehanort does, and the Master finishes by saying that he is a lost Master. It seems like Xehanort may be hearing these words for the first time, but he does not get the chance to ask any further questions, as the Master begins to walk away. His final words to Xehanort are, "May your heart be your guiding key."
And it's
I do
ironic because
wonder
once again, he
if
thinks
now
what he's doing
Xehanort
is
will
morally
return to
fair.
Eraqus' side and play him in
Xehanort.
chess once more, asking him directly about these lost masters. It seems that Eraqus knows more about these missing Keyblade wielders and the Keyblade War than he ever previously let on.
Right.
And perhaps by this point, Xehanort has done his own research, but I will speculate on this scene in the next video.
Okay.
Over his years and many incarnations, Xehanort will relentlessly pursue his goals of forging the Keyblade, so that with its power, he can recreate the world as he sees fit. And it is the events
Which is
that
what the
occur in Dark
Masters
Road
of
that
Masters
impose that
needed
mindset
to
upon him.
happen.
But just what will happen to him and those he cares about? What could make him so convinced that the only path forward is to wield the power of darkness and commit unspeakable acts and betrayals with it? Xehanort does not simply go forward spreading darkness for the sake of it. I really think he sees this path as the only possible way forward.
That's what I'm saying, where he thinks it's the
Melody
ethical
of Memory
thing
revealed something very interesting
that
said
he
by
needs to
Xehanort
do.
during his time as an apprentice, and that is what I would like to explore next. To what depths will Xehanort go to save his world?
Yeah.
And from what threat is he saving it from? Melody of Memory implies that it is the existence of fictional worlds outside the reality of the Kingdom Hearts universe that may hold the key to either the Kingdom Hearts universe's salvation or destruction.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder if these worlds might be where the 7 upperclassmen may have been sent to. Perhaps even some of Xehanort's own classmates. It does seem that these worlds are where the Foretellers, the Master of Masters, and now most recently, Sora was sent to. And hell, given that we still haven't seen Demyx or Luke Sword's original forms in Union Cross yet, these worlds may be where they originate from too. But yes, that is the story of Dark Road and its complementary material so far. I'm honestly really enjoying the rollout of story content so far. It seems a lot more organized and perhaps thought out than
And
Key
I like
and
how
Union Cross did. And I really like that the interactions with the Disney characters are clearly relevant and almost metaphorical to what
Xehanort feels what he's doing is completely right.
I'm very suspicious of Master Odin so far. He's certainly one of my prime suspects in Luciu's current vessel. And I really want to know
Luciu's current
why
vessel,
the
that
islands
would
of
make
Scala are
sense.
abandoned, and why Emblem Heartless are appearing now. But hopefully we will get the answers to these questions that hopefully don't have the answer that they were just in a data world the entire time. Also, I know family's barely relevant in the Kingdom Hearts series, but does Xehanort have a family who misses him? Or is he some sort of artificial, heartless being that was created specifically for this purpose and stamped with the requisite sigil?
Yeah,
a pawn of the Master of Masters.
Was him being in the Destiny Islands in the first place?
Who knows? But what I do know is that I want to thank you for watching this video.
Just kind of
We've got so much to talk about coming off the back of Melody of Memory still, so I hope you'll subscribe and check out what lies in store for the future of the series. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
So yeah, I definitely think that it's funny how the conclusion that Xehanort himself came to is that everyone thinks they're doing it for the right reasons, but it's just for them to gain more power, when in reality that's exactly what he's doing as well. But yeah. Okay, so that's so interesting that this was the origins of why Xehanort, like when he was set on this path, why he kind of clung to darkness so what seemed easily, but it's those journeys that were meant to make his mark of mastery that made him actually see not just darkness as an evil, but the people themselves who desire any power or have any ability for darkness as evil as well, or like at least needing to be fixed. And he's the one that can fix them, according to him. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I very much look forward to checking out more Kingdom Hearts lore, especially before KH4. We've got tons of time, so let me know what you'd like me to see next. Please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!